Have you ever noticed that the moment you decide to level up in life, the resistance gets stronger? The second you commit to discipline, the moment you start getting serious about your faith and start pursuing your goals, suddenly temptation and distraction show up. But that's not random. And today I want to show you, using the book of Genesis, why darkness often follows intention and how high performers like you and me can overcome it. Welcome back to another Mindset Monday. It's your boy Fitman Dan. If this is your first time checking in, this is just a time where I come to share a few words that I hope help impact someone on their journey through fitness or their journey through life. Today we're talking about darkness following intention, and in a second I'm gonna give you a framework that I think can really help us to overcome darkness that follows our intention. I want to start this by talking about Newton's third law, which states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And this applies to our life too as well. Every choice, emotion, right? They all trigger a corresponding balanced outcome. Here in Genesis 1, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was all over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. God saw that light, and that the light was good. And he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and morning, and that was the first day." So I want to introduce this framework that I'm entitling the light framework, winning spiritual warfare as a high performer. So whenever you pursue purpose, resistance appears. However, scripture shows us how we should respond. And Genesis is the blueprint. So let's start with L. We launch with intention. In Genesis 1, we see that when God began creation, the darkness was already present. So darkness often appears when your intention begins. The darkness was already there, but it's when intention was brought into the equation that darkness appeared. So we see this all the time practically when you get ready to take your faith seriously, when you get disciplined in the gym, you want to start building your purpose, suddenly distractions increase, temptation increases, your doubt increases, because when your intention rises, often resistance will respond. And it's important that we normalize the fact that darkness will follow intention. And so we should lean into this with this understanding and knowing that darkness isn't a sign that we're doing the wrong thing. It is often a sign that we're moving in the right direction. Then we must identify the darkness. God didn't pretend that the darkness wasn't there. He acknowledged the darkness. Spiritual warfare for most of us isn't dramatic. It's very subtle. It usually shows up as mental attacks, emotional attacks, behavioral attacks, right? Doubt, discouragement, insecurities, temptation, laziness, distractions. Darkness that shows up for us is often after our consistency. If you are a disciplined person, a high performer, the enemy wants to attack that intention. And so it will show up in many ways that aren't very obvious unless you really pay attention to it. Unless you really set your intention on identifying those things that are showing up as darkness, right? Repelling your intention. Because see, the enemy rarely attacks the dream outcome. He rarely attacks the finish line, right? He attacks the small actions that get you there, the disciplined actions day in and day out that get you there. The enemy attempts to slow you, right? And so we must identify those dark things that are attempting to slow our intention. Then we must generate light through our words. Genesis 1:3 said, and God said, let there be light. God didn't analyze the darkness. God just spoke light into it. He spoke light. He identified that there was darkness. Okay, I know that there is resistance. I'm not trying to pick through the resistance. I'm not trying to identify every little aspect of, okay, why am I being lazy? Why am I? No, you speak light into it. These things are normal. These things will happen. And so it's important that you don't over fantasize the darkness. You are aware of it, and because you are aware, you speak light into it. You speak light into that darkness. Your internal dialogue matters more than you think. Most people don't realize that the thoughts and the things that you say to yourself, right, are darkness. It is darkness, right? It is darkness going on in your internal dialogue. Things like you're not ready, or you always fall off. This probably won't work, right? Light sounds like the complete opposite. It says God gave me discipline. I finished what I start, and I am called to grow and to experience growth, right? Darkness often speaks in thoughts, but light responds through declaration. Like I said, the darkness was already there. So these doubts and fears are already there. But God spoke the light. So you have to declare over the darkness, over the dark thoughts that are already there, right? What God said. That I am victorious, that I will win, that I will see this through. That victory is already mine. Then we must hold the light. Light wasn't just spoken once. It says God separated light from darkness. What is that? It shows that God had boundaries. God created discipline around the light. Holding the light in your life means that you must protect it. And so God protected the light by separating it from the darkness. It says he called the light day and the darkness night. He identified, he gave language to it. Examples would be monitoring what you watch, what you listen to, protecting your consistent workouts, protecting your consistent prayer, protecting your focus by trying to eliminate as many distractions as possible. You must separate, right, yourself from the things that are attempting to quench your intention. Your light must be protected, or darkness will slowly reclaim the space. Because once you speak light into it, like I said, the darkness is subtle. It'll subtly creep back in. And so it's important that you protect the light. You clearly separate and make boundaries for what you know protects your intention, for what you know pushes you further towards where it is that you're trying to go, your dream outcome, and remove the darkness, the things that are attempting to distract you from that desired outcome. Then we have T, to turn the light into a system. In Genesis, God shows us the cycle. Like I said, he called the light day and the darkness night. Light became a system and not just a moment. He didn't only speak that life once. He created night and day, right? Where light would systematically come back to overcome the darkness. And so victory, right, in spiritual warfare isn't usually a dramatic thing. You don't overcome the darkness by trying to overshout light. You overcome it by creating structure, by creating a daily structure, right? This could be prayer. This could be reading scripture. This could be a gratitude journal, or just declaring what you're grateful for every morning. Physically, this could be having a set training schedule, right? Catering your meals around your nutritional needs and catering your life around your recovery schedules. Mentally, this could be journaling, reflecting, and seeking clarity, right? Because the people who win spiritual battles are usually the ones who build disciplined systems. You don't win by will. Your willpower won't get you there. Discipline, consistency would. And so it's important that we remember that when God began creating the world, darkness showed up first. But darkness never had the final word. Light did. And Genesis shows us something very powerful. That God didn't wait for darkness to disappear before he started creating. He simply spoke light into it. Don't wait for the darkness to go away for you to start to speak life over yourself, for you to start to encourage yourself and to control your inner dialogue. Don't wait until laziness and procrastination goes away. You overcome it now by declaring that you will be disciplined, that you are a disciplined individual, that victory is yours, that you can do this, that you are the person capable, right, of overcoming the resistance. If you're pursuing purpose, discipline, growth, don't be surprised when resistance shows up. Be encouraged today, y'all. I hope this bless y'all, and just remember that darkness will appear when your attention rises. However, light wins when it is spoken and sustained through daily structure. You have the power to overcome darkness, and Genesis gave you the blueprint. Speak light over the darkness. Separate the darkness from the light. Keep a daily structure, and you shall overcome your spiritual warfare. Peace and blessings, y'all. I see y'all on the next one.